details reveal how far Trump officials were willing to push legal boundaries in their effort to prosecute former FBI Director James Comey. It all started in May of 2025 after Comey posted this photo of seashells on the beach arranged to spell out 8647. And Trump's advisors claimed the slang phrase was an attempt on the president's life. Higher-ups in the administration then requested the Secret Service access the former FBI director's phone to monitor his movements. But newly released records from Comey's defense team show that Secret Service officials were deeply concerned about that dubious claim and argued that they did not have the legal authority to track Comey's phone without a warrant. A mid-level supervisor in the Washington field office wrote in an email, quote, "At the time, we did not believe anyone's life was in danger, and legally, it was a bad idea." But the records show that a top Justice Department official told them he wanted them to do it anyway. The next day, Secret Service agents were following that directive. The new court filings also reveal that FBI agents took some very unorthodox tactics, including asking Google AI and ChatGPT about the term 86. Here comes the mobster part, folks. As well as interviewing convicted mobster Salvatore Sammy the Bull Gravano. New Yorkers remember who this person is. While Gravano did say that all law enforcement agents would be familiar with the term 86, referring to murder, the FBI's efforts to tie the term to the mafia may have backfired when Gravano also said that a, quote, gangster would never use that term. Back with us, Brendan Ballou and Susan Glasser. I want to read a little bit more from this story on Wednesday in the Washington Post. Brendan, feds relied on accounts from famed mobster and TV actress to build Comey case. FBI agents applied for 2 search warrants to access Comey's electronics. In them, they sought to undermine Comey's public apologies for the post, including during an appearance he made to explain the situation on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Investigators cited a 2014 Slate interview with actress Darby Stanchfield, who starred in the TV show Scandal, detailing how TV show guests often do pre-interviews with the show's producers to work out what they will say on air. Based on that account, the agent wrote, it was likely that Comey workshopped his apology for the seashell post before his appearance on Colbert's show. Brendan, you are the attorney here at the table. I am not, but this strikes me as some really flawed investigating and just a misuse of the law.
Who hasn't relied on the cast of Scandal to get a search warrant? You know?
Okay, exactly. If I was a lawyer, that's all I would focus on. Follow Kerry Washington to the depths of the earth.
Yeah, I mean, she might be qualified, but yeah, the lesser cast. You know, I think there's parts of this that are just inherently incredibly comical, like you said, relying on old mobsters and actresses to try to get the search warrant. Just insane facts like the fact that the Secret Service, briefly to try to build their credibility, said that 8647, if there was ever a reference, would be considered a threat on the president. They had to change their policy that day because they realized that there was an overwhelming number of, superfluous, irrelevant statements like that. So, it is sort of a comedy of errors. And at this point, James Comey kind of has his choice of ways to get this case killed. First Amendment, 14th Amendment, motion to suppress and so forth. The bleaker thing, the darker thing with all of this is, hearing about this illegal surveillance by the Secret Service, including reportedly surveillance of James Comey when he visited the grave of his dead son, which is horrifying. So just at a human level is horrifying, but I think at a political level is terrifying. We talk about, when we talk about secret police, we are not talking about police that nobody knows about. Right. We're talking about police that are unaccountable to the law.
Right.
And to learn that the Secret Service are doing these apparently illegal searches on political enemies should be terrifying for anybody.
Susan, this and the Hearn, reflecting pool case for me are tied together. And a lot of other things, but those are the two that we've talked about today, is they prove how far So many people within this administration are forced to and are willing to go when Donald Trump's feelings are hurt. When Donald Trump's feelings are hurt, how far the Justice Department, the Secret Service, the institutions that are also supposed to protect the American people in some way, shape, or form, how far they are willing to go to possibly throw folks in jail because Donald Trump's feelings are hurt.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can imagine wanting these to be studied in law school as an example of an abuse of power looks like when the president of the United States has asserted a level, literally a personal control over the machinery of justice in the country, including, of course, right now trying to put his personal attorney in as the Attorney General of the United States. In both cases, you have a through line, Eugene, as you pointed out, of Donald Trump directly getting involved and personally getting involved. Really struck in the Hearn case, a couple things. Jeanine Pirro going out there and lying to the public and claiming on camera that she had sensational evidence against this former Olympian, when, of course, no such evidence existed because it's all based on a lie. Has she apologized to the public? Does she face any sanctions? She is not just a person on TV, as she was in her previous role on Fox. She's a U.S. attorney. She should be accountable for lying and, maliciously smearing this former Olympian, number one. Number two, you look at the Comey case, and the other element that struck me in these excellent stories in the Times and the Post about these filings, Donald Trump not only was pressuring the Secret Service and the Justice Department on this case, he was apparently personally monitoring this surveillance that was of questionable legality, personally monitoring the surveillance of Comey as he was returning from a foreign trip, according to these legal filings. Imagine that. First of all, what were they doing? What did they hope to find? That he was going to secretly put some more seashells out with more, threatening seashells to the president? I mean, that's a question I didn't find answered in those stories. But again, imagine Donald Trump personally doing this. And I think you have almost the textbook definition of abuse of power.
And Susan, I want to stick with you for a second and get to a very serious matter, which I think you can speak to uniquely, which is James Comey throwing his wife under the bus on Stephen Colbert for the original posting of this picture. Let's listen to this quickly.
My wife and I, Patrice, were walking on the beach and saw those numbers in shells on the beach. And
you didn't do this. Somebody else did this.
Yeah, somebody else did it. We were on a walk preparing for this week, the rollout of my book.
Yep.
She looked at it and said, why'd someone put their address in the sand?
All right.
And then we stood at it, trying to figure out what it was. And she'd long been a server in restaurants. And she said, you know what I think it is?
Yeah.
I think it's a reference to restaurants when you would 86 something in a restaurant.
Right, it's off the menu.
I said, I think it's a clever political message. And she said, you should take a picture of it.
I mean, you and Peter are public figures. If he went on Colbert and blamed you for this. No, okay, but actually, I just wanted to play that clip. But you and Peter also were the first Peter Baker, to report on extensively on the genesis of the Comey obsession and investigation. And as our EP pointed out to us, you reported that he wanted Jeff Sessions to investigate Comey. So this goes back over a decade now, or maybe just about a decade. Can you talk a little bit about that? And feel free to address the why you should never throw your wife under the bus of it all.
Or ignore it.
Well, I imagine that in addition to the, difficulty of being under criminal indictment for something like this, he will have to answer at home for many, many years. Imagine every time that, the dishes need to be done on, not just on Christmas night. It'll be his job to do that. And, penance will be paid in a variety of ways for that. But I appreciate you pointing out the long running context. Again, the revenge and retribution agenda for Donald Trump in his second term. It's one of the things that is the biggest outliers of this presidency from any presidency we've really had. In the first term, Donald Trump also sought to weaponize and misuse the machinery of justice on his own behalf. He faced somewhat more resistance than he has now from a couple of attorney generals, even though they were willing to do things that previous attorneys general would not have. And remember, the animus toward Comey, it's very specific and located in the early days of the Trump presidency. In fact, we're working on a book now about the American presidents and Vladimir Putin, and have just been
news.
Can we get those breaking news banners? I didn't know this.
Stay tuned. And it just revisiting this incredible scene at the very beginning, actually, even before Donald Trump is sworn in, and James Comey and the other intelligence leaders decide that they need to present Donald Trump with the fact that this Steele dossier exists, and then it's going to come out. That, if you're looking for a moment that led us to seashells and an Instagram post and a criminal case that never should have been, there's a straight line from James Comey saying, hey, there's this Steele dossier thing, and taking it right from there to this moment. And it tells you that Donald Trump, his memory when it comes to slights and injuries done to him, even if it's a misremembered or a mistaken impression, he will spend years going after people and using the power of the presidency to do so.
Brendan Ballou and Susan Glasser with a book that we are all now very excited to read. Thank you both for coming to The Weekend.